Okay, how's everybody doing? Well, we're gonna be starting Scarlett and soon. So I figured I would go ahead and talk about the cars I'm going to use for this build cycle and the sponsor, and what kind of vehicles I think you should look for Scarlett, and a little bit of tactics and ideas for inspiration in your own builds. Um, so, starting off, Scarlet Aim is road pirates. They are they dress like pirates. They act like pirates. Um, I imagine they probably sing uh, versions of sea shanties. Uh, I guess. I was listening to there's I guess was it a remix or a remake of Bully in the Alley that was I stole an F-16. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. Is uh, you know like this Plymouth Barracuda here, convertible. Imagine four people singing at the top of their lungs as this thing is driving down the road and dressed as pirates, and you've got a pretty good idea of how they work. I will say this: you don't have to go the road pirate theme that heavy. One of my favorite builds is actually two clown vehicles because of their perks. Scarlet fits as a good clown team, and I think they fit good for any LARPing ideas or anything where you want to have a bunch of people stuffed in a vehicle. Because they get a discount on crew, and we'll talk about that. But because of that, you want to have vehicles that you can stuff a lot of figures in. So I've got like this little matchbox. What is this called? It's just called a personnel carrier. The gun's a little messed up, but that's a good spot for a gun. If you want to run this as a heavy truck, it's a little screwy because the most you can have is 10 crews, so I'm gonna have to cut 2 of these dudes out. Or just maybe just put a cover over it, and use these guys for parts, maybe for something else. Which is a shame, but it works. It's fine. But I still I'm not sure if I'm going to put a cap on top of this or not. But the idea behind it is still solid. That it's a armored personnel carrier, carries a lot of people. So that's a good vehicle to have. If you have any true 1/64th scale buses, or like school buses, basically a school bus would be about about 3 cars ish long. So that's kind of about what you want to look for. This is my Beverly bus, so it'll give you a good idea of what a bus in true Gasland scale would look like. So, like I said, this is Beverly. It's got a little dusty sitting on top of my table, but this is a 1955 Greyhound Scenic Cruiser. So that gives you an idea of what a real world vehicle scaling looks like for buses if you want to go the bus route. Buses are very powerful for Scarlett because the way the rules work with them, they can go all the way up to their full max of 16, and 16 handgun shots is very, very terrifying. up close. But that's not to say they can't do other vehicles real well. They can do bikes very well because they have fender kiss, access to fender kiss, which again I'll talk about. And they can do buggies really well because of that. But they can also do performance cars really well. And so this is a Corvette 61 Mako Shark. And I think as far as Scarlett goes, vehicles like Barracudas, Mako Sharks, Corvette Stingrays, if it's named after a fish, I think you're in a good ballpark for a Scarlett vehicle. Convertibles, again, open top vehicles, things that you can put a lot of people in, like this Ford Jeep, and this, I think this is an Isuzu, but you can go that route and kind of stuff people in them, and you can do pretty well. But we'll go ahead and we'll talk about some of the perks and stuff. And so their sponsor perks is crew quarters. And that means this team can purchase the extra crew member upgrade at half the listed cost. So normally it's 4 cans for an extra crew member. And extra crew, in a lot of builds, it's a little expensive to invest in. But it gives you some protection against gas grenade shenanigans. And the more crew you have, the more weapons you can fire. So heavy vehicles that have a lot of build slots for a lot of weapons, you can assign more crew to and get more out of them. To that degree, side-mounted guns are great. So if you have, one slot can give you a minigun on both sides instead of one minigun, and you can shoot 2 different targets because you have the crew to man those weapons. But a lot of teams, that's expensive. Rutherford's about the only one where it really comes into its own by adding extra crew and taking that, because then you can strap a shotgun, but then that's an 8 can investment for just a few dice, and you'd much rather be spending 5 cans for ammo weapon, or I think 6 for 125. So yeah, that's one way to look at them. So if the more weapons you can put on the vehicle, the more crew you need to fire. The other thing is, again, like I said, pistol shots. Because of the rules, if this is a performance car, normally it has crew of 1. Maximum it can have is crew is 2. This car, crew 2, max it can have is 4. Basically, you double up whatever is there. Most buses are crew 8, which means, again, you can go all the way up to crew 16. So you can do the math, and that's 32. Oh no, that's 8 times 2, 16. The 16 more cans. To the average bus, it's pricey, but the BFG is outclassed by that at close quarters. So just something to think about if you want to just throw a lot of pistol shots into one poor fella. That being said, the other thing is their crew. Again, there's perks that really benefit well for them, like boarding party, which I'll get into. And but then we have raiders, and that's at the end of the attack step. This vehicle may permanently reduce its crew value by any number to a minimum of 0. Remove 1 hull point from any vehicle in base contact for each crew removed this way. So this is a cheeky ability, and it's caught some people out before. But basically, if this is some squirrely Miyazaki vehicle that you just managed to ram, and it's got 1 hull left, and you got 4 crew, you can drop one of your crew members off to go ahead and take this vehicle out. And then that will trigger how they get audience votes, how Scarlett gets audience votes. And there's some neat ways to spend their audience votes. So there's that trick. And the big thing about that is, again, you have to be careful because it is permanently reduced. So performance cars with 1 crew member, you know, the only way I could see it really having any effect is if they only have 1 hull and something's happened, and you're going to blow up anyway, or you're going to lose the game anyway. You can go ahead, drop your crew member, go to 0 crew, and your car won't count as being destroyed, but it won't be able to go anywhere. So yeah, it's kind of a, you might as well do it if you're gonna lose the car anyway. That's about the only niche situation I could see using that. But for the most part, it's have a lot of crew. Got somebody with only 1 or 2 hull left. Pop 1 or 2 of your crew members, take that guy out, go win the race. So raise the sails is the next ability, and that's after rolling the skid dice. This vehicle may permanently reduce its crew value by 1 to a minimum of 0 crew to add 1 free shift result to the skid dice result. This is again one of those you really need to have a lot of crew if you're going to consider doing this. It's not my favorite ability of theirs by far. Again, the niche situation would be is if you're in a situation where you roll your skid dice and it's going to take you over 6 hazards to wipe out, and if you wipe out, you might flip, and if you flip, you might lose the vehicle that way. So dropping a crew member off to gain an extra shift dice might mean the difference between losing the race and staying in the race. So there's that, but it's if you're dropping down to 1 crew member on your truck or your bus or whatever, something's gone horrifically wrong. Then we've got press gang or kill haul. And so when another vehicle in contact with this vehicle is wrecked, this vehicle may gain either 1 crew or 2 audience votes. So again, this is where sacrificing the crew isn't such a bad thing, because if this vehicle hits this vehicle and I lose a dude to take this vehicle out and wreck it, then I can kill haul, press gang, somebody into my vehicle to continue going on, or I can do the kill haul and gain 2 audience votes, which is big because most of these abilities, they don't have a way of gaining more than 1 off of a trigger. So you know, you could theoretically hit somebody, destroy them, and gain 2 audience votes. Scarlett monster trucks are great for this because they can go and hit somebody, destroy them, up and over, hit somebody, destroy them, and then they have 4 audience votes. So that's something to think about if you want to do another vehicle. Monster trucks are, again, great because a 4-crew monster truck is kind of scary. So then when they've got their perks of tuning and aggression. And aggression is shared by Warden. And it makes more sense in a way for Scarlett than Warden, but double-barreled is, again, if you're going to go heavy crew, it's a great one. This one is during the vehicle's attack step, up to 3 weapons with crew-fired special rule may gain a +1 bonus to hit. So that applies to pistols. That also applies to shotguns, submachine guns, etc., etc. And so that applies to 3 of your crew members. So again, if you've got a vehicle with, say, rockets, you have 1 crew member firing a rocket, then you have your other 3 crew members with submachine guns. That's 9 more dice added to an attack. And it's crew fired is also 360 degrees. So you've got plenty of coverage of what you want to shoot. Boarding party is, again, it's a perk that's almost broken. For toucans, it's you ignore the distracted rule, meaning that this vehicle may attack during the attack step, even if the vehicle is touching an obstacle. And so, if this vehicle has, let's say this is a truck with a 125mm cannon. I mean, I'm using this as a buggy, but we'll use this as that. If I tailgate this car, normally I couldn't shoot my big gun. But with boarding party, not only can I shoot my big gun right into the cab of their vehicle, my crew can shoot into the cab of that vehicle. If you're in a certain situation where you're right at the end of the race, and this car here is coming towards the finish line, you ram it, you might shoot it, might have only 2 holes left, so you shoot the cannon, and then you might have another opponent here, you can shoot them. The other thing to think about is it's any obstacle, and vehicles count as obstacles, of course, but any obstacle. So if this is a rock, you can hit this rock and still shoot somebody. So it's a pretty player friendly sponsor because of that, because as long as you have boarding party, you're not too worried about hitting things. Then you have Battle Hammer, which is 4 cans, but it's pretty much in the right situation an auto delete of just about anything short of a tank or a war rig. And that's when making a smash attack. This vehicle adds 1 attack dice for each hazard token the vehicle currently has. So if you have, in most situations, let's say you just have 1 gear advantage, and you say you have a medium vehicle, and you have a ram. You start off with 3 dice, okay. Say you have 4 hazards, that's 76. Say you're right there at wiping out 66, that's 96 off of a ram. If you have an exploding ram, you're starting to see where the multiplications of this happen. And then when your ramming is finished, if you have boarding party, you can light them up. If they're still standing, light them up and get your audience votes or get you a crew member back. It's terrifyingly good ability. Terrifying Lunatic. This one is better, I think, for Warden than it is for Scarlett. But it's whenever the vehicle controlled by another player ends its movement step within short range of this vehicle, the active vehicle gains a hazard token. Eventually, when we talk about Highway Patrol likes to wipe people out more than just straight up wrecking them. you want to run up to somebody and punch them in the face really hard. Messing around with hazards, making them wipe out, it can work. You can wipe somebody out and then have, hopefully they are facing like head on to a war rig or a big truck coming up behind them for a nice head-on collision, and then you got something, but it's not that great in my opinion. Then you've got Grinder Man, which is a 5-can ability, and that's before this vehicle rolls its attack dice in the smash attack. It may choose to add 1 hazard token to target vehicle for each point of damage it inflicts, instead of removing whole points. Again, not ideal for Scarlett because you want that damage. It's a shame Highway Patrol does not get aggression because they would love this. But 5 cans to not do damage is painful. It's just not a good investment in my opinion. So in my opinion, if it was the only way I could see it really being effective is if a few extra hazards causes a wipeout and gets you them at gear 1 and you've got enough gear to go win the race or achieving a goal, but you still win the race if you knock them out. So it's not my favorite perk. But then you got Murder Tractor, which in the other sponsors that can take aggression, it's great. Not for Scarlett. And yeah, it's like, yes, you can make pile driver attacks like a war rig. But here's the thing about that is, first off, pile driver is when the heavy vehicle, well, a vehicle that's one size heavier than another, rams another vehicle, you can move that vehicle a short distance away. Basically, you're hitting it so hard, you're flinging it somewhere. Now, for Warden and for Rusty's, that's great, because you fling somebody into a wall or into another vehicle, or if there's a weird niche situation where you can, if you're playing a teammate game and your teammate's slime, you can flick them into their pinball situation. But the problem with pile driver is it goes directly counter to what you want to do. With Scarlett, you want to be touching this guy when they are wrecked. So playing the I'm not touching you game is counter intuitive to what Scarlett wants to do. Scarlett wants to hit this guy, keep him pinned, and do as much damage with the ram, and then pour on the shots and take this guy out and either kill haul him for some audience votes or press gang him and add him to the crew. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that particular perk for Scarlett. Again, for the other sponsors, it's great because there's so many fun things you can do with it. But yeah, Murder Tractor, I say skip Murder Tractor on Scarlett builds. And that includes using their war rigs. Scarlett, on paper, does look like a great war rig team because of the high hull, because of how many crew you can potentially get, the build slots. But again, you don't want to be knocking middleweight and lightweight vehicles aside. You want to just hit them and destroy them. So that's my opinion on that. But then you've got tuning. Tuning it's a quirky perk, in my opinion, for pirates. But you can flavor it different ways. Fender Kiss, of course, again, that's if you're thinking about the old timey pirates, pulling up beside somebody and then putting the grappling hooks and coming together gently so you can jump over and get somebody. Fender Kiss is pretty much an auto take on performance cars, bikes, buggies. If you're feeling frisky, I don't recommend it, but if you're feeling frisky, you could even do a drag racer. But the idea is that when you make contact and you go to make a smash attack, you suffer a -2 penalty on your attack dice. Vehicles making a smash attack against you suffer a -2 attack dice. So if somebody's trying to run over your bike, which has 4 hull, you've got some protection. And your lightweight bike is probably not going to outsmash a semi. So being able to hit somebody, Fender Kiss, you might not do the smash, you might do an evade, and then they might smash you, and you might completely dodge the incoming damage, and then have your bikes with boarding party unload some submachine gun shots into somebody and take them out. And that's a very satisfying feeling when you take out people with light vehicles, a swarm of them. If you're doing a pirate theme, it's wolf pack tactics. So if you're feeling that way, that's a great way to play Scarlett. Rear drive is it's a quirky one. I keep getting that one wrong when I go to play. But basically, the vehicle may pivot about the center of its front edge rather than the center of the vehicle when resolving spin results. That was kind of a short vehicle. It'll work better with this one. Basically, when you do a spin result, you're doing your spin this way, around basically the center of the vehicle. So instead, you're doing the spin at the front edge of the vehicle. So basically, you see here, it's not really threatening anybody. But if I spin like this, you see now I can make contact. So if I've got a side ram or something, I can fishtail it and hit somebody. Or you can use it to get to a better turn. It's 2 cans, so if you've got 2 cans to burn and you've already put boarding party on your vehicles, in Fender Kiss, if it's a lightweight vehicle, I can see an argument for rear drive. Delicate Touch is really nice. That means this vehicle ignores hazard icons on movement templates. So essentially, you've got a safer range of motion, especially in higher gears. I do think that one's, for 3 cans, is pretty good. Because you do want to avoid hazards with Scarlett for the sheer fact that you want to only really accumulate hazards if you're forcing collisions on a side that doesn't have a ram, and you have to somehow manage a hit like that to achieve a goal. It's not bad. Momentum is one I like to put on my vehicles. When resolving a skid dice, this vehicle may set aside a slide or spin result to reroll a skid dice, and then this effect may be used multiple times. But then the skid dice that are set aside must be resolved. that's, again, that's a good perk, especially if you have, like, you roll and you have all spins, or you have all slides, or you have a spin, a slide, and a hazard, or a spin, shift, and a hazard, and you want to take your spin anyway, so you just set aside the spin, and then re-roll the hazard token, the hazard roll, and you might get another shift, or, there's a chance you could end up getting another hazard too, but, that's a safer bet than push it. So for 3 cans, not a bad idea. Then you get to the pricey ones, which is purring. 6 cans. This vehicle does not gain more than 1 hazard token from spin results each activation. Doesn't gain more than 1 hazard token from slides. Doesn't gain more than 1 hazard token from hazard results each activation. Basically, it's 6 cans for accident proofing your dice. There's times where you have a really feel bad moment where you've got a bike and you've got 4 handling and you roll all 4 dice and they all come up 4 hazards. And then you push it and you roll it and it's 4 hazards again. So that one it's pricey, but it can be a game saver. So that one, I think if there was a competitive meta for Gaslands, I would say it's too pricey. But for the most part, since Gaslands is definitely more of a casual game, you can get away with it. It's fine. Skiing, though, it's this vehicle has 3 handling or higher. This vehicle may take 3 hazard tokens at the end of its movement step to be ignored by other vehicles during their movement step until the start of the vehicle's next activation. If by ignoring this vehicle in this way, a vehicle's final position would overlap it, move that vehicle backwards along their movement template by the minimum amount to avoid overlapping any obstruction. Okay, so this one is a pricey one, and it doesn't help you at all with Scarlett, especially if you have boarding party. Essentially, skiing is one of those where if you have a buggy and you want to not hit these vehicles, you can take 3 hazards and go, see, I made it over here safely. Ta-da! Other sponsors do that, make that much, much better, but not Scarlett. Because, again, Scarlett, even with a buggy, you want to make that hit. If you have a monster truck, you want to hit, and over. If, you have certain weapons like harpoons, you want to hit and maybe, if this is a heavy vehicle and it's got a harpoon, you want to hit there. If you have a harpoon, you would ignore that. So, actually, I guess maybe you wouldn't ignore it because it's in the movement phase. But I guess it would depend. But, no, so I don't recommend skiing for Scarlett because even if you're going to hit a rock, I think it's better to hit a rock, have boarding party, and unload all your shots into somebody than it is to basically pull a magic trick and go through it for 3 hazards. So the one idea I think you could say would be good is if you are running a pack of smaller vehicles for Scarlett, and you don't want to run into your own people. But then again, I'm not a big fan of that particular method. So yeah, that's Scarlett Ann in a nutshell. So we'll talk about weapons because there is some dirty tricks with weapons, especially harpoons. that I find funny. And there is, of course, again, exceptions to the rule, especially like with Murder Tractor. Again, the exception involves harpoons. So, yeah. Again, if you're looking for any vehicles for Scarlett, I recommend convertibles, big vehicles that you can put lots of people in. Again, vehicles like this that have board beach patrol on it just kind of stick out to me. Vehicles with flatbeds that you can put guns on. Buses, big trucks. All of those are good Scarlett Ann vehicles. But other than that, it's up to your imagination. So you stuff as many people as you can into a vehicle and have some fun. So yeah, this video is going late. So I hope you enjoy me rambling, getting tongue-tied, and going a little off and getting my rules a little mixed up there. But because I don't do scripts, so I probably should do a script, but I'm not that intelligent. So yeah, the story's been updated. There's almost 20 Gaslands cars up for sale on my Etsy store, King of Cats Crafts. They're all looking for good homes, and most of them are only $10 a piece. So I think, if you're looking for cars to get into this game, or you're just looking for some fun cars to have in your collection, I really appreciate it if you check me out. And again, that's King of Cats Crafts on Etsy. And so yeah, if you like this, like, share, subscribe. Comments are always welcome, even if it's to laugh at how many times I say the word and yeah, so with that, take care, be safe, and goodbye.